Active listening beats passive listening. Most students think listening to English podcasts all day will fix their TOEFL score. It won't. And that's the shocking truth nobody tells beginners. Passive listening, where you let audio play in the background while scrolling your phone, trains your brain to ignore English, not understand it. Active listening is different. You sit down, focus completely, and listen with a purpose, predicting what comes next, catching signal words like however or in contrast, and mentally summarizing each section as it ends. TOEFL listening passages are structured like mini lectures with an introduction, a main argument, supporting examples, and a conclusion. If you're not actively tracking that structure in real time, you'll hear the words but miss the meaning, and that's exactly where points get lost. The fix is a simple 10-minute daily drill. Play a short lecture, pause every 30 seconds, and say out loud what you just heard in your own words. This forces your brain to process meaning instead of just sound. Over 2 to 3 weeks, this single habit rewires how quickly you catch main ideas versus details, which is precisely what TOEFL questions test. Students who switch from passive to active listening report catching details they used to completely miss, sometimes within the very first week of practice. Shadowing rewires your ear for speed. Here's something that sounds almost too simple to work. Shadowing. This means listening to a sentence and repeating it out loud at the exact same time as the speaker, matching their rhythm, pauses, and intonation. Why does this matter for a listening test, not a speaking test? Because your ear can only recognize the sounds your mouth has practiced producing. Native speakers don't pronounce every word clearly. They blend want to into wanna, drop the T in internet, and speed through connector words. If your mouth has never practiced these reductions, your brain genuinely cannot decode them fast enough during a real exam, no matter how large your vocabulary is. Shadowing forces you to physically feel the rhythm of natural speech, which trains your ear to expect and recognize those same patterns instantly. Start with 3-minute clips of academic lectures, the same genre TOEFL uses. Play a sentence, pause, shadow it, then play the next one. It will feel awkward and too fast at first. That discomfort is the signal it's working. After consistent practice, students describe a strange shift. The audio doesn't feel like it's sped up. Their brain just finally caught up to native speed. Note-taking is a skill, not a habit. Almost every student takes notes during TOEFL listening, but almost none of them take notes correctly, and that gap alone can cost 4 to 6 points. Writing full sentences is a trap. By the time you finish writing one sentence, you've already missed the next 2 ideas. The real skill is symbol-based shorthand. Arrows for cause and effect, plus signs for addition, question marks for doubt, or contrast the professor raises. Structure matters more than content. Divide your note page into a main idea column and a details column before the audio even starts. When you hear a professor say, "There are 2 reasons for this," your hand should already be drawing 2 number slots before they finish the sentence. This is trainable through repetition, not talent. Practice with 5 lectures a week, and after each one, compare your notes against a full transcript to see exactly what you missed and why. Usually, it's not vocabulary, it's timing and structure. Within a few weeks, your notes stop being a transcript attempt and start becoming a map of the lecture's logic, which is exactly what lets you answer detail and organization questions fast during the real test. Academic vocabulary and context, not word lists. Memorizing 500 vocabulary flashcards feels productive, but here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of those words won't stick because your brain stores meaning through context, not isolation. TOEFL listening passages are packed with academic vocabulary, words like component, phenomenon, hypothesis, but hearing them inside a real lecture, connected to an actual idea, is what makes them permanent. The better method is targeted exposure. Listen to a short academic clip, identify 3 unfamiliar words, then listen again specifically, hunting for how those words are used, not just what they mean in a dictionary. Write down the sentence they appeared in, not just the definition. This builds a mental library tagged by context rather than alphabet, so when you hear phenomenon in a real test about ocean currents, your brain retrieves meaning instantly instead of translating word by word. Students who switch from flashcard memorization to context-based listening report recognizing words faster under pressure because their brain isn't searching a list, it's recalling a memory. This single shift can cut your reaction time on vocabulary-heavy questions dramatically, and it compounds every single week you practice it. Predicting questions while you listen. Here's something that separates high scorers from everyone else. They're not just listening, they're predicting. TOEFL listening sections almost always ask about the speaker's purpose, the professor's attitude, or why an example was used. High scorers train themselves to silently ask these exact questions while the audio is still playing. Why is she mentioning this example? What's the professor's tone here? This turns listening from a passive reception task into an active investigation. And it means that by the time the actual question appears on screen, you've often already answered it in your head. This skill comes from repeated exposure to real test patterns, noticing that professors almost always give an example right after stating an opinion, or that a sudden tone shift signals disagreement. Practicing with past test audio and reviewing exactly which moments generated questions trains your brain to recognize these signals automatically. It sounds advanced, but it is entirely learnable through pattern repetition, not natural talent. After enough repetition, most students describe a genuinely shocking moment. They start guessing the question type correctly before it even appears, simply because the audio signaled it the whole time. Consistency beats intensity. The final and most overlooked truth: 20 minutes of focused listening every single day will outperform a 3-hour cramming session once a week, every time. Listening comprehension is a neurological skill, not a knowledge skill. Your brain needs frequent spaced exposure to rewire how it processes fast, natural English. Cramming might feel productive, but the gains disappear within days because there was no repetition to lock them in. A simple, sustainable structure works best. One short lecture for active listening, one shadowing drill, and one vocabulary and context review done daily rather than occasionally. Progress in listening is often invisible day to day, which is exactly why most students quit right before the breakthrough happens. The real, if slightly unsettling truth is that the score doesn't jump because of one insight. It jumps because of accumulated repetition, finally reaching a threshold your brain needed all along. Students who track their practice consistently for 4 to 6 weeks describe a specific moment. Audio that used to feel too fast suddenly feels normal, almost slow. That moment isn't luck. It's the direct result of daily structured repetition finally compounding into real, measurable skill. What if the reason your TOEFL listening score isn't moving has nothing to do with your English level at all? What if you've been doing everything right? Watching English shows, listening to podcasts, memorizing vocabulary lists, and your score still hasn't changed because none of that is actually training the skill the test is measuring? Here's the truth almost nobody tells you. Passive listening doesn't work. Letting English play in the background while you scroll your phone trains your brain to tune English out, not in. Real progress comes from active listening, sitting down, focusing completely, predicting what comes next, and mentally summarizing each section the moment it ends. TOEFL lectures follow a pattern: an introduction, a main argument, supporting examples, a conclusion. If you're not tracking that structure in real time, you're hearing sound, not meaning, and that is exactly where points disappear. Now here's something that sounds too simple to actually work: shadowing. Listening to a sentence and repeating it out loud at the exact same moment as the speaker, matching their rhythm, their pauses, their reductions. Native speakers blend want to into wanna and drop sounds constantly. If your mouth has never practiced saying it that way, your brain cannot decode it fast enough on test day, no matter how many words you know.